It has to be 35 years ago. I saw a show by Jerome, and it was at the Phoenix Art Museum, and they had the winners of the Prix de Rome. And with those, there was a section that's had some of Jerome's students. And in that section was a series of paintings from a live model, an older man with a beard, that all the artists had painted. I was marveling, even if it was the same artist, that the same person would have the ability to make it look just like him from all these different angles. And it got me to wonder, especially 30, 40 years later, I've been teaching 200 to 250 students a week for 30 years, adults. And we get all different levels. People are going to be professional. We've had people on the covers of art magazines. The success over the years has been phenomenal. And the level of the drawing goes from anyone who's going to be on a magazine cover to someone who's not going to continue in art. And that goes on in every class and always has. And I'm sure it did with Jerome as well. So for me to look at this series of paintings by Jerome's students, I was so taken. How could he get everyone to draw at such a high level? At that same time, I'm painting for some of the most affluent people in the country. They own sergeants and I was looking for mediums that I'm missing, and I found Rubens medium with Damar varnish and Venetian turpentine, stand oil, and turpentine itself, and it was just a beautiful, lush, rich varnish, but yellow. But turpentine's dangerous, so I had to get rid of it. So it's a different topic. And I'd go to the museum and I go to Washington and I see all the Rembrandts, and then I would say, oh my gosh, look at how thick the paint is. I don't have thick paint on my painting. And I'd come home thinking that was the missing thing in my painting. And I put thick paint everywhere, and then I get a little brush and paint over it. Or maybe that I don't have these crazy brush strokes, so I put these big fun brush strokes all over the canvas, like I'm an artist. I should wear a scarf and a hat, and I make these brush strokes, and then I'd get my little brush out when it dries, and I'd refine and fix it and leave some of them, and it would make me look like I was an artist. And then as the years went on, I've noticed Sargent makes a mark. John S. Sargent makes a mark to carry a message. That the mark carries your message. It comes from Degas. So let me tie all this together. The Jerome show, the Sargent making a mark, after 10 years of having an affluent list of people wanting portraits and paintings, and then finally quitting for 25 years. And now I'm starting again, and it's time to paint. So about 10 years ago, I started painting, and I realized I would have to get my eye back into shape and my hand. And at that time, there was a book going around the internet by an artist by the name of Bargue, B-A-R-G-U-E, and he was a student of Jerome's. And Jerome is one of the great French Academy 19th century teachers. Let's explain how to do this. So what I'm suggesting is the problem with the Bargue plates is that these horizontal and vertical lines are different lengths and different sizes. So when I'm to draw something and I put down the line and I draw the line there and I just start to kind of eyeball my shapes and my marks, it's up to my eye to be able to draw these shapes. And when I've been drawing for years, it's up to my eye to draw these shapes. The more I draw, the better I draw the shapes. But because I had taken 30 years off doing art, or 25 years off to do art, my eye got very lazy, and drawing shapes was something I didn't do very well. And when I said earlier that Jerome and his students in this one show, Pretty Rome show, they all drew at the same level, you have to take out the variable, the talent between one person and another. So what I've discovered is everyone in our class, and I teach a few hundred people a week for the last 30 years, all draw at a high level now. And it's because of the Bargue drawing. But it's something we've added to it, and that is whatever distance you make this, and I'm making it a 1-inch section, and I'm using a marker so you can see it, but I think a red pen works great in the beginning. What we're looking for is where lines change direction. We're looking for these dots right here. Everywhere these lines change direction, you're looking for dots. So if this goes this direction, there's your dot. If this goes like that, that's your dot. Everywhere it changes direction. Because when it comes time to paint it, every change in direction is a different plane, and a different set of values will go in each plane. All right, so let's start. So the first thing is to draw a horizontal and vertical line. I believe that it's imperative that the line be parallel to the page. And I'll just do it a little closer so you can see it. I'm going to make 1-inch marks. And they'll be in all directions. So it's 1 inch this way. Now, the truth is, I could just take a piece of paper and just say, I'm going to make my lines this big, and I could make a mark that size. And then I'd have to eyeball what's halfway and double check it to see if it's halfway. So I don't need a ruler, but the ruler helps me find, what's halfway. So when I'm going from here to here, I want to make sure that is halfway, and I'll have to measure that. But I could also make this any size I want, because halfway is always in the middle. I'm not sure that's halfway. So when I measure it, I just take something to double check like this, and that is halfway. This works to enlarge your picture. It works for drawing from life. If I was to draw a figure and a person, and I say, well, I'm drawing from life, and I say, well, how big is the head? And then I measure how many heads down or how many heads are out. It's a very accurate way to draw, and I believe it gives you the strength and the freedom not be afraid to make a mark and mess up. So I'm going to take this image right here, so I'm going to move it up. I'll put it right next to it. Now, what I'm looking for are wherever the lines change direction, and the lines that actually are touching the line first. So the intersecting lines. So from A to B, and I'm going to label it A, B, and C. And I'll go 1, 2, 3 this way. 1, 2, 3. That's important because when I go A, B, and C here, I'm not marking or labeling the halves. So I know whatever's halfway between A and B is halfway between A and B, even if something is larger. So the first thing I'm looking for are landmarks, things that I know are hitting the spot, the line. So right here from here to here at the halfway mark puts me at the top of the eyelid. And then I go down from here. Halfway from that puts me at nothing. Don't mark your paper because you don't want 100 marks on here. So I know that halfway is nothing, and then half of that is the lower eyelid. So I know there's nothing at halfway, and half of that's the lower eyelid. I know the lower eyelid's right there. And if I continue to go down from here to here, there's nothing at the halfway mark. And if I go up, half of that is nothing, but half of that is the next mark. So from here to here is half. Lower than half of that is the next mark. And I'm just finding these lines that are running that way. And I'll do the same thing to the right. And I'll say, okay, so from here to here, here's half. Nothing there. And from there to there, there's half. Oh, there's a line there. And then from here to here, halfway puts me at a line. Now here's the part that the actual measuring is about. This is where this separates from using your eye. What you're looking for is where this line goes up and changes direction. You're looking for a dot right here and right here. Where does this line change direction? So with an imaginary mark, I'm going to go across, and it's hitting halfway between these 2 points. So halfway between these 2 points, and I'm putting a dot there. Where does this line hit? Oh, it's hitting right up here. Where is it this way? Well, from here to here is halfway. That's half of that. It's a little inside that. Halfway, half, a little inside. Right there's my dot. And I'm not going to put a mark like this on my drawing, but I'm literally looking for dots. That's what I'm doing here. So I'm saying, where does this line change direction when I go across? Right here. It's changing direction right at this spot. It's changing direction right there at that spot. Where is this spot when I go across? From here to here, it's halfway. So I know from here to here, it's halfway. Right there. That's the dot. And I'm going up, it's hitting this spot right there. Straight line, no curve. When I'm going down, where is this dot where it changes direction? So when I go across, oh, from here to here, halfway. I'm just looking for half, hoping there's something there. Here's halfway. When I go across, that puts me right there. And this line comes straight down. This line's a little lower. And that's good. I can eyeball a little lower. But the truth is, what happens when it's bigger, and how much is a little bigger, a little more when it's larger than that? So that's where you're always looking for half. So you're always looking for half. You're looking for the outside line to change direction. Because it identifies the planes. So if I look at this and I say, well, from here to here is halfway, and there's a line hitting the halfway mark, then I know that's where the top of that is. If I go from here to here and halfway puts me at that inside of that line, then I know that line going this way is right there. Then just keep looking for half. Leave the math out of this. From here to here, that's a little past halfway. So I know that's where that is. where does it change direction? See the dot change direction? These are the changes I'm looking for. Everywhere the line changes direction will be eventually a different side or a different plane. You're looking for dots to change direction. So right here, where is this change in direction? How high is it? So from here to here, I'm trying to find out the height. So from here to here is halfway. It's at the halfway mark. So I know from here to here is halfway. I know that dot sits right there. Where does it change direction going down when I go across? Well, from here to here is halfway, and it looks like it's just above halfway. Right there. And it's a touch point drawing. You're looking for the outside line. We call that the contour edge to change direction. Because it identifies the planes. So when you have an object, every time a line changes direction, if the sun's coming this way, the shadow will go here, and the cast shadow always touches the dark side. That leaves that as the medium. When the line changes direction, it's a different plane, and you have to shade it a different set of values. So you're not just looking for accuracy, you're also identifying the planes. Unfortunately, this is a skill and not a talent, and it's learned. Or can be learned. So let's keep going here. So we're looking for this dot right here. Doesn't matter which one I choose. It just doesn't matter. So when I go across, it's the same height as that one. From here to here, there's half. Keep breaking it in half. And then a little lower than half is that one. So here's half. A little lower of half puts me at that line, and I know these two are at the same level. So I don't know how far out it is, but I know it's that height. So where does it hit when I go up here? It's just beyond the half mark right here. Right there. Where is it ending up? So from here to here is halfway. It's a little less than half of that. Here's halfway. It's a little less than half of that. It's right here. And you draw a straight line, no curves. You're just looking for planes to change direction. Now, where does it stop? How high does that go? Well, it's above half of that distance, right there. And then where does it end up? Right here. So from here to here is halfway. That's a fourth. It's in between those two. It's right there. Where is it going? It's going past this dot right there. Where is this ending up? When I go across, so from here to here is halfway. It's below that. It's somewhere in this area. Where is it hitting here? So from here to here is halfway. When I go down, it's inside the half. It's inside the half. It's right there. Where is it ending up here when I go across? right about here. How high this way? So from here to here is halfway. This is a fourth. Halfway, a fourth. Right there. And I'm not saying I'm not going to alter my shapes a little bit. I am. But boy, does this start to get me in the ball game. So where does this end when I go across? From here to here is halfway. So here's halfway. I know that's where that changes. Where does this go? How high? It's right at the halfway mark. How far this way? So from here to here is half. It's a fourth. So I'm looking for half. Half of that puts me right there, and there's that line. How high is this? From here to here is halfway. It's half of that. I keep breaking it up into half and half of that. No math. Whoops, I didn't find the bottom. The bottom is hitting how high? From here to here is halfway. That's a fourth. It's in between the two. There's halfway. That's a fourth. It's in between the two. It's right here. I was too high when I just kind of guessed. That's the part I'm trying to get you around. I'm trying to get you to look in this direction for every dot and in this direction for every dot. It's an incredibly accurate way to measure. It's tedious. It's boring. There's no artistic skill required. That's okay. There's enough in art that deals with artistic skill. Let's just get it on the page in proportion. So when I come down from here, where is this line? Oh, I know that hits that line. But I can double check it now when I go across and say, where does that hit? So from here to here, that's halfway. It's above the half. Oh, I'm good. That's not too bad. Then where's this? It's hitting the bottom of this mark. Right there. This dot comes straight down. Where does it stop? So from here to here is halfway. It's above that. So from here to here is halfway. It's above that. Right here is where the stop is. And it's coming out like that. Where is this dot? It's hitting here. I don't know where. Oops, it's hitting here. So my dots are too fat. They need to be a little more refined, but I needed you to see them. So when I go across, from here to here is halfway, and I go across, that puts me at the halfway mark. So where's this? When I go across, it's above this. How much? Half, fourth, less than a fourth. Half, fourth, less than a fourth. I just have to find out where it's hitting this way. So from here to here is halfway. Oh, so from here to here is halfway. Here's a fourth. The other one is inside a fourth. Half, fourth, the other one's right here. That puts this one somewhere here. This is about there. There's half, that's a fourth. Half, fourth. When I go this way, it's half, a fourth. Half, a fourth, it's right there. It's hitting right here at the top. Now that brings me to something. If I was to draw a straight line from this dot to this dot, then I could see the negative shape, and its widest point is right about here. So right here is its widest point. This line is going beyond it. So there's half, that's a fourth. It's in between the half. Here's half. Here's a fourth. Half, fourth. And that line just continues going straight. And this is actually going to come down a little bit. So there it is. All I'd have to do is take that measurement up higher and then start to do the half and fourth this way too. This outside line, if this is halfway, and that's a fourth, it's right here. But I'm looking for where the straight line changes. So this is where it goes this direction, and this is where it goes this direction. That's a dot, and that's a dot. I'm looking for dots where it changes direction. So this outer guy is hitting just inside this line. It's from here to here is halfway. That's a fourth. So halfway, a fourth, right there. Where is it hitting here? Oh, just about inside the half mark. And how high? It's about a fourth, right up there, right there. Oh, I'm sorry, it's inside. I don't have an eraser. I guess I didn't think I'd make a mistake. All right, that's above the half right here. Where is it? It's about a fourth. This line is hitting inside the half. And the height is hitting about halfway. This line is hitting, there's half, just past the fourth. And like I said, there's going to be some altering and shifting. It's a very laborious, tedious way to draw, but it's incredibly accurate. Incredibly. So what I'm suggesting is that you take your images and you mark on this like this, and you draw a ruler, 1-inch ruler in all directions with the download. And the reason you're doing that, as I look at this, if I was to take this area and show you how it works. Each time the line changes direction, changes value. So when you're shading something, if the sun's coming from over here, that's the dark side. That top is different than the front. This is the side. That's the side. This is an underneath, and it has to be different than the side. You're looking for planes, so you can paint them different values and different temperatures. So this is identifying planes, and it's an accuracy that I have never seen anything match. The only thing matching this is to put a grid on the page. But if I was to draw a grid all over the whole page, it would work. It's a fantastic way to get something realistic. But the problem is when I take a brush stroke and I make a mark and I take that charcoal and I or a thick brush stroke in my painting and I just say I'm going to make this soft mark and then a fast mark and then a light mark and I say, wow, that brush stroke shows the message that I'm trying to convey. But if I'm so afraid I can't get my marks back in the right spot as I make these marks and I make my brush strokes, then I'm going to make these timid marks with fear, and never do they go from something that I'm gonna, because I have to be able to wipe it off and say it goes from this spot to this spot, so let me do it again. And I didn't do it, let me do it again. I'm going from this spot to this spot. I have to know I can get that mark back. It frees up my brush strokes and my ability. Drawing at a high level is a skill. It is not a talent, and it is learned. It's just a tool. That's all it is. So I'd like to show you another. Let's just take this up, starting with the eye. I think the eye is the easiest one to do, so I'm encouraging you to do the eyeball first. And now let's do a face. And what I'm looking for now with that face is where the lines change direction. So when it goes one direction, then it changes direction. That's my dot. Here's my dot right here. These are my dots. Everything is a straight line in the early stage. I saw a charcoal drawing by Sargent where the eyeball was kind of looked like this. The eyelid was like this. And he found the widest part of where the eye was changing direction. And it was kind of boxy. It wasn't quite like that, but it was kind of boxy. And he never went back in to round it. He was looking for the widest parts of the circles, of the line changes. And he just you could tell his eye was measuring that way. Now, I didn't see dots. I just draw straight lines instead of a curve for an eyeball. So for me, it's saying that the way he was trained by Jerome's program, though Jerome wasn't his direct teacher, it was still an ongoing thought process of how something was taught. So the nose is, we know, right here above the half, or the B line. And we know from here to here, halfway puts me at the tallest part of the nose, or the widest part. And that height is hitting from here to here. That's half. That's a fourth. It's in between the half and the fourth. So from here to here, there's half. Here's a fourth. It's right about there. So we know that line. Where is it changing direction? Here. So from here to here, it's almost halfway. Oops. You're not supposed to say oops, right? And from here I know it's above the half. So from here to here is half of that, and it's half of that. So it's in this area. Where's it hitting? This way. So from here to here is half. There's a fourth. It's right about there. It's very hard to draw from the side. I want to be in front of it, and I'm over here on the angle, and I can't see where my marks are going. So that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. All right, so from the chin line, here's the C. So here's my C. That spot, so from here to here is anything halfway. Yeah, the lip. So I'm going to say the lip's about halfway. Where does it hit this way? So from here to here, from this mark, my half mark, from here to here is half. And a fourth of that puts me at the lip. Half and a fourth. I don't even remember what I measured for. Half, fourth. So when I come down, what's hitting it? Oh, the lip. Half, fourth, I know the lip. So I got to find the lip now. The lower lip. So from here to here is halfway. That's the lower lip right there. How high up? So from here to here is halfway. That's a fourth. A fourth of that is the lower, is the upper lip. So here's the upper lip. And it's inside of this part right there. Now, the temptation is to just wing it right here and start to do this. Until I get the shape right. And everyone does that, but my goal is that we not wing it. My goal is that you do this tedious, torturous dot to dot thing. And there is an easier way to draw, and I'll show you that as well, but this is important. You really have to know how to measure. So here's half, there's a fourth, it's about an eighth is the chin. Half, fourth, eighth. Right here's the chin. And it's when I go straight up, so from here to here, here's half. The chin's halfway. It's right there. Then that line's going that way, and this line's going in. So where is this when I go across? So from here to here is halfway. Half of that puts me here. It's somewhere in this area. Now, where is it when I go this way? So from here to here is halfway. When I go down, it's inside that. There's a fourth. It's about right there. And then the lower lip is halfway. The lower lip's halfway. So this line's coming this way and down. I'm going to double check this dot right here. So when this goes straight up, it looks like it's left of halfway. Right there. Yes. So that's correct. Right there is correct. Keep forgetting what I was looking at. So from here to here, there's halfway. That's a fourth. Where's it ending? A little above halfway. It's going inside this line. The outside of the lip here is hitting the halfway mark. The height is hitting below that upper lip, but it's hitting here halfway, a fourth, it's less. Halfway, a fourth, it's less. It's right here. From here to here, there's halfway. That's half of that. That's less than half of that. It's right there. And it's going right there. Like I said, it's very tedious. I have a hard time drawing this way. I like to draw in the shapes, and I'll go ahead and show you that. So if I'm looking at a drawing or something, sometimes I'll and I'll shade it in. Ooh. And I'll take my eraser and my pencil and I'll just start to draw in those shapes. You know, and what you're doing is you just start to draw in the shapes. And at that point, I would do this with a red marker, but I would start to mark it up and say, okay, so from that line to that line, and that's my measuring gauge, and I'd go out and I'd say, that's how big things are, and then I take that distance and go this way, and I start to say, okay, so where are things now? And it's easier to fix things when part of it's already there. So there is another way I want you to learn how to draw, but right now you're just focusing on half and half and half. So I'd like to show you a couple more things. So let me show you how to measure something. So I'll draw a line on the arm, define the side of something, and then whatever size I think lines up with something. I don't want to put a line in the middle of an arm or somewhere. I need the end. Like right here where the wrist is changing direction. I just felt like that was a good thing to use as my measuring gauge. It was 2 inches, so I went 2 inches in all directions out. And then what you're doing is you're looking for where the line changes direction. So you're looking for this dot and this. And you're finding the parameters of the widest part of the object. Now I struggle measuring, so I'm not measuring this. I'm just showing you what I would be looking for. I'm looking for the line to change direction. Looking for the widest points. And straight lines. And then a little at a time, you say, okay, well, so from here to here is halfway. Oh, that almost puts me at the thumb. And then half of that distance puts me at the finger, and half of that distance puts me at that finger. And the height when I go across puts me at the knuckle, and half of that puts me at the knuckle here, or the thumbnail and the knuckle. And I just say, okay, so where are these places that I'm finding? And it's a very easy way to draw. Please, when you shade this in, do not shade this in the way this picture is. There's no, I have a lot of trouble with it. I'm looking for lines that change direction. Right here is one. You know, and I'm guessing the forearm's changing here. This should have been a dark plane right here. And this is a medium, so you can see the line changing direction. So this would be 4 to 8. And I don't know whether this section is darker than this section because we have no cast shadow saying which is the darkest section. But remember when I said every time a line changes direction, it has to be a different set of values. So this is going one direction like this. This is going another direction. So these cannot be the same darkness, not if you want something to look realistic. It doesn't happen in nature that way, and therefore it's not happening in this drawing. This section's going this way, so any finger going that direction would be the same value, or any tops of the fingers going that direction would be that value. So that could be a top, which would be the 4 to 8 part. Now, if there's a shadow cast on a light side or a medium, so let's look at your value scale here. So I'll flip it over. So if in our value scale we have a light section, a medium section, and a dark. So I have a light, a medium, and a dark. A light, a medium, and a dark. Whether it's a dark object or a light object, there's a floating scale here. Different video, so I don't want to spend too much time here. But if you have a shadow on one side, like the medium, maybe there's a shadow on the sunny side, then you take the shadow from the medium and put it on the sunny side. The same thing goes with reflective light. If you have reflective light on the dark side, you get the value from the medium. Now this is sort of a floating rule, but it does help quite a bit. There are other things that can change that, and one of those things is the surface itself. Is it a very shiny surface or not? You know, like wool doesn't reflect light as much as a high metal, polished metal would. So you do have to use your eye also. But off the topic, you're looking for lines that change direction because it helps you identify the planes. Then following the value scale, you have to put in the planes accordingly. So that's what that looks like. So let's take you to a figure now. So you snap a line down, a vertical line down something that's going to connect with other parts of the body. The fingers, the end where the waist changes direction right here, the two planes show up. You can see the line of his rib cage going one direction and then another right here where line's going one direction, then another. These are lines changing direction. These are planes in this area right here. Or look for shadows to start and stop. So I may have missed a little bit here. Okay, look for the line to change direction. That's showing you the planes. Okay, look for shadows to start and stop, highlights to start and stop, and the outside line to change direction. Now, how do I measure this? What am I looking for on a portrait? So you drew your plumb line, and I'm going to go ahead and make it a little thicker just so you can see it. It doesn't matter where you put your plumb line, as long as it's plumb. It must be straight. And then it doesn't matter where you put the horizontal line. I tend to do the widest parts of the thing, the object, but that's just a personal thing. Now, you're looking for where the line changes direction. So I'm going from here to here. And I think I'll use a different color marker because I marked green already all over it for the planes. And that just confuses everything. So I'm going to use a darker black. Here's where it changes direction. There's where it changes direction. That's your dot. This is your dot. Here's your dot. Dot. I'm not interested in the curve and the wiggle. Simplify the shape. Make your life easy for you. Then you can refine it. here are your dots. And it doesn't matter how big you make your image. I don't care if he's the 18 by 24. You're going to mark an A, B, C, D, E, and what's halfway between A and B is going to be the height of his eyebrow. What's halfway between that half and that at a fourth is going to be his mouth. You know, where is this dot? When I go down from here to here, that's halfway, that's a fourth. When I go up, that puts me right there. Where is this? When I go across, where does it hit? So from the B to the C, here's halfway, here's a fourth. It's in between the half and the fourth. You're looking in two directions for each dot. Where does it hit? Where does it hit? Where does it hit? Which way? Where does it hit this way? Where does it hit this way? And you're just looking for things as half or half of half. And leave the fractions out of the equation. Does that make sense? I really believe that you'll take your drawing to another level if doing it this way. It doesn't matter what you use to measure your dots from. You're just measuring dots. That's all you're doing. One at a time. Don't get hung up with all this stuff. Look for the big shapes first. And then a little at a time you start to refine it. I feel gifted tracing on top of like this. So let's go over the eyeball one more time. So it doesn't matter how large I make something. It just doesn't matter. Whatever size I make my A and B, whether it's an inch or just a made up size like this, and I go down and I mark that. Then I measure what's halfway, but you'll have to check your halfway and kind of put your pencil like this and check your pencil for halfway to make sure it is halfway. Then whatever distance you do that, you go out this way. Whatever distance this is, you go this way. And you mark your half. And as you're looking at something, you say, okay, so as I look at this, and I'll move it to the other side to make sure it's in the picture. I'm saying that from here to here is halfway, and that line is from here to here is half, less than a fourth, half, fourth, less. There's the dot. And then I go across and I do the same thing. So I'm saying, I have to get rid of my tape. And I'm saying, okay, so this is hitting right here at the end of 1. So I know this is going from here to here. It doesn't matter how big I make it. Half, whatever size I have it, it has to be the same. It cannot be eyeballed. It has to be measured. Whether you mark a piece of paper and just say, I'm going to make it this big, and then fix it, and make sure it is that size, or whether you use a ruler, because the ruler helps you see what half is. So I think the ruler's easier for me. So, you know, this is there's no way around it. It's a boring way to draw, but gosh, do we have people succeeding. And my goal is that you succeed, and measuring is an easy thing. Hard for some brains. Like I said, I want to show you how to put in shapes and then measure on top of the shapes. But this is still the beginning step. And do the eye first. Make sure that this doesn't happen. Never draw a line diagonal. That line should have been straight up and down also. The diagonal line is great later. Once you decide how big you're making something, and you say, okay, so there's half, and I'm making it this big, and when I go across, it comes out to here, and I'm saying there's my half mark, then I put my dot there and my dot there, and then I draw my diagonal. But that line is a parallel plumb line. The plumb line is a very old term from the Old Testament. It's where architects or builders used to drop a string with a weight on it, and they built their wall to be parallel. And eventually, this was God's ideas and thoughts of behaviors for people, and that was our plumb line. You could always tell if it was waggling off and straying. Hope this wasn't too confusing. I hope this makes sense.